Hello, and welcome to EMAN, Effectively Making a Noise. And today we're going to be on the story of Saul becomes David's enemy. Saul becomes David's enemy. And I am your host, Cheryl Secrest, bringing this wonderful, inspiring story to you. This is coming from 1 Samuel chapter 18, verses 1 through 30. Prince Jonathan was present when David returned from his victory over Goliath and talked with King Saul. David and Jonathan immediately became friends, and Jonathan loved David as his own soul. Because of his great love for David, Jonathan made a covenant of friendship with him and presented his own princely robe and the armor which he wore to his newfound friend. Saul kept David in his service from then on, and would not let him return to his father's house. David behaved well wherever Saul sent him, so that Saul sent him over the men of war. David became very popular in the sight of the people, and also with Saul's servants. As the victorious soldiers were coming home, after David's contest with the Philistine, the woman came out of all the cities of Israel to meet King Saul, singing and dancing and playing instruments of music. And the women shouted to one another in the midst of the merrymaking, meaning having fun, laughing, being gay. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very angry, and he was filled with envy toward David, because they praised David more than the king himself. And Saul looked on David with suspicion and envy from that time on. The next day, David was playing the harp to comfort and soothe King Saul, as he did from time to time. Suddenly, the evil spirit, the devil and wickedness came upon Saul, and he stormed about the house with a spear in his hand. And in a fit of anger, he turned and threw the spear at David in an effort to kill him. But David dodged Saul's spear twice. Saul believed that the Lord was with David, which made him all the more afraid of him. So Saul had David taken away from him, and made a commander of 1,000 soldiers. The Lord was with David, and he was successful in everything he did. When Saul saw this, he was afraid of David. But all the people of Israel loved David, as he went in and out among them. Then Saul contrived a plot to get rid of David by having the Philistines kill him. He told David he would give his elder daughter, Merab, to become David's wife if he would go and fight the Philistines. But when the time came, Saul broke his promise and gave Merab for a wife to another man. Saul had another daughter, Michal, who loved David. This pleased Saul, and again he offered to make David his son-in-law. David tried to excuse himself by saying that he was too poor and humble for such an honor. But Saul instructed his servants to tell David that the only marriage present he would require would be proof that David had killed 100 Philistines. Thus Saul hoped to have David slain by the Philistines. It pleased David well to think of becoming the king's son-in-law. So David went forth with his company of soldiers and killed 200 of the Philistines, and reported the number to the king. Whereupon Saul gave his daughter Michal to David for a wife. But as Saul became more and more convinced that the Lord was with David, and no longer with himself, he felt still more afraid of David. And as he saw how all Israel loved David, he became more and more filled with jealousy and envy. So Saul became a bitter enemy toward David continually. From time to time, the princes of the Philistines came out to fight the Israelites, and every time they came out, David gained greater victories over them than all the servants of Saul. So David became highly regarded as a valiant, full of courage and bravery of a commander among the men of Israel. And this is our story for today. I encourage you to go ahead and read chapter 18, 1 Samuel, just to see the rest of the story. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Have a blessed evening, and peace.